Conscious imagination is the creative faculties that the intellect used to express its imaginings through form of performance. It's the rationalizing faculties of the mind. All right, so it likes to rationalize things. Very different than the subconscious. And also, conscious imagination is creative and artistic awareness. This is the part of, right, of our imagination that we're aware of. Right? When we look at the root elements of imagination are experience. As an artist, we have to have enough experience that we can use in our art. If you don't live, then how can you express something? How can you make comment on life when you have no experience? The second is conception. You have to be able to conceive something in your mind, a form, right? A symbol, something that you want to express. And it has to have a relative truth. A novel like Alice in Wonderland, even though it seems fantastical, there's a truthfulness within itself, right? Everything that happens, Alice takes a certain potion, she becomes small, she takes another one, she becomes big. You know, there's rabbits that talk, and there, you know, it's just like, I mean, within that reality, it all works. You couldn't bring that type of novel to Fahrenheit 451, for example. It just kind of wouldn't work. The relative reality is very different, right? So every novel, like if you watch The Matrix, right? Within The Matrix itself as a movie, there's a relative truth, right? That keeps us knowing that, okay, in this virtual world, people can fly through the air. People can duck bullets, you know, I mean, it's just, that's the way that world is constructed, all right? And then lastly is artistic choice. And this is really where I think we become individuals. If you're expressing, let's say you have a still life, there's so many choices that you can make in terms of how to express that. You could express it just as a photo, right? Make it photorealistic, your painting. You can express it as abstract. You can say, you know what, I'm going to use neon colors for my, and that gives you a different, or you may say, you know what, I'm going to, like the orange, I'm going to get so close up where the orange looks like it's the craters of a moon, right? You know, all those are artistic choices, and by the artist deciding what choices he's going to make in expressing an artistic work, that determines what that work ultimately looks like, all right? All works of man have their origin in creative fantasy. What right have we to depreciate the imagination, said Carl Jung. And I think this is really an astute observation. Also, when I talk about conscious imagination, this was just to even show, I wanted to particularly pick this piece out. Now, we see that this is what, a dress with a mustache. And who, of course, who's the mustache belong to? Salvador Dali. All right, so our conscious imagination is that repository where there's an awareness of the forms. All right, now there's another repository, right, where we're not aware, and that's the subconscious imagination. But I thought this was kind of funny. You know, that this is a bureau, for example, this is an umbrella, upside down, bird cage, etc. All right. And when we say someone has imagination, I mean, this is, you know, now is this wearable fashion? Probably not for most people. All right, but it certainly is imaginative. Now, the one thing I want to say about experience, in order to have experience, people have to reframe it. It's not good enough just to say, but teacher, this is the story as it really happened. I mean, who cares? You know, if it's not making a commentary, or if you're not giving us meaning through your story, who cares? Or even if you recreate an experience, it has to be done in a way that's going to make us think, and it's going to engage us, and it's going to ultimately be something more important than just the story, right? Just the narrative. I want to. There was a piece. Let's see, 361. I'm not doing a lot of reading from the book only because I thought it was more important that you got the knowledge of it, like the encapsulation, but. I did want to particularly read this one piece. Now, this is a piece that's called "A Death of a Spirit," but it came from, let's see, I have a personal example. The initial 30-second incident entailed my witnessing a mother who, readying herself to leave a small 20 by 60-foot playground park situated between the apartment building and its parking lot, told her 3-year-old son that it was time to go home. In an instant, the boy standing at the entrance of the park bolted across the tiny park, but the mother shot the father a glance that sent him chasing after the child. Seconds later, the father caught the boy and ended his run. Now that was the incident, probably like not even 10 seconds. But that kept on nagging at me. Now if I just wrote that experience, people would say, well, so what? All right, that happened, yeah, and? But I think probably 3 weeks later, things took on a different feeling for me. I mean, I think it started triggering off other memories and experiences and sort of coalesced, and it came what became ultimately the death of a spirit. The setting was no longer a small apartment building, playground, but the expansive dale edged by woods. And the boy was no longer simply rebelling against going home, but rebelling against a life of convention, right? So here's that piece. I watched the scene unfold on the flat of a hilly meadow. It was late in the afternoon when the mother, announcing to her 3-year-old son that it was time to go home, reached for him. No, no, the boy stomped, and instinctively, like a startled jackrabbit being confronted by a predator, darted across the field at the consternation of his mother. The mother, like a veteran field marshal, shot a quick dispatching glance at the father, who, like a dutiful foot soldier, made an abrupt face and scrambled after the boy. Boy, boy, shouted the father, stop! No, the boy snarled in response to continue his run. The drama played out in front of the waning sun, which even now overlit the scene, which still reels to my mind like an overexposed video. Then I realized it. Like the sun, the days of the father were slipping away. Run, run, I wanted to yell out to the boy, but lacked the guts to interfere. Run, run for the hills while you still have breath in your lungs and action in your feet. For us, the day is done, but for you, it has only begun. Don't let them take you from your freedom, hem you into a conventional home ruled by convention. You still have fight in your fists and stomp in your step. Stay defiant, at least until the good years of your youth have slid silently across the horizon. Run, run until a new day asserts itself among the order of the dawning quietude. I imagine saying all of these things, and I wanted to say more, but not one word of encouragement parted my lips. I watched the boy dash down the dale, and by some secret wish, imagined he lost his pursuer among the woods, which now reared up along the basin's edge like spirits. The boy now paused to gaze into the lights and sounds flitting among the spectral shadows, and I watched with the deepest interest, enraptured as if I were watching his rebirth. Was this boy a fair-spirited reflection of my own past? A past where I might once have been possessed of such a spirit, but worried it away through fears and overcautiousness? Am I now but a cripple caged by the concerns and cares of do-good jailers? I thought that perhaps the boy would escape a beatdown by the social norms of what should be, what ought to be, and what must be. Suddenly, the cloud swallowed up the dying sun, and in a gasp, the father snatched at the boy by a scruff. The boy kicked and screamed, no! Though groundless, he wriggled and fled like an animal caught in a snare. Maybe there was still hope yet, I sighed. I thought more than once the violent spasms of the child would dislodge him from his father's grasp and allow him to skitter away, however inelegantly, to freedom. But damn, this was not to be. The strength sputtered from his limbs, from the limbs of this little warrior whose body now became limp. And like that, it was done. The father clutching his dangling spirit, the son rejoined the mother, and like a pair of bookends, neatly wedged the boy between them, just like that. A shudder echoed through me of great sorrow and regret. I cried. I cried until the transient light passed, and the boy lost all form and fused into the silhouette of his mother and his father. Their amorphous shadow fluttered, then died in the distance. Now that's very different. I got that from that simple 10, 15-minute experience, but it's far more richer, right, when we invest ourselves in it, all right? And I don't know why it bothered me, but we don't know why. As artists, we know that certain forms and images and experiences, they trigger in us other experiences and emotions, and that becomes a work of art, hopefully.